Okay, so ready for a real mind bender today. We're always hearing life is short, right?
Yeah.
Got to make the most of it.
Yeah.
But this piece takes like a totally different angle. It's like
Yeah.
zooming out, seeing life in these big cycles, not just like a single moment.
It's really interesting how it uses that whole cycle idea to like reframe everything, like life and death, even how we grow.
Right.
It's not just a straight line. It's more like a spiral always changing.
And the tone is so different. It's almost poetic. Like even death, it's not this scary ending. It's just part of this bigger cycle.
Yeah,
Did you get that feeling?
totally. And it dives right into those deep questions, the big ones about like our place in everything.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of everything being connected, it gets really interesting with this whole 12-circle labyrinth idea. It's got to be a metaphor, but like, what's it really saying?
Okay, so think of each loop of the labyrinth as a cycle of learning and growing, right? So you face something, you learn, you come out a bit wiser.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah.
So like going through a tough time, like a job change or losing someone could be like one loop in the labyrinth.
Exactly. You got it. It's not about rushing to the center. It's about what you learn on the path itself.
And what about those little Cosmos FM bits throughout? They felt kind of playful, like little jokes from the author. It's like our lives have a soundtrack.
Yeah, those were fun. But they might also be saying something about us all being connected, like tuning into the same cosmic radio station.
Oh, and hey, did you notice that 100 Years of Solitude reference? All about cycles and patterns repeating. What'd you make of that connection?
Good catch. Remember how that book has the same names and fates repeating in the family? This piece uses that to show those bigger cycles, History, culture, even our own patterns, they all repeat.
And then it talks about increasing frequency and people waking up,
Uh-huh.
almost like becoming more aware of these cycles is what it sounded like.
Yeah. As we understand life cycles better, we start to see things differently. More aware. It's not about a literal frequency, but a shift in how we understand things.
That's a cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
And you know what else I found interesting? The author says they never finished 100 Years of Solitude. I felt that. Sometimes those big classics,
Totally. But the piece doesn't judge you for that. It's like it's saying even struggling with a hard book is part of the cycle. Trying to understand those moments of clarity, then deciding to quit or keep going.
Wow, that's deep. Even our reading habits reflect those bigger cycles.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about this. It makes you see cycles everywhere, even in places you'd never expect. And, it's not just about seeing these huge cosmic cycles. This piece does a really great job of like bringing it back down to earth, showing how these patterns are happening in our own lives every day.
Oh, totally. It's holding up a mirror, right?
Yeah.
Making you see the cycles in your relationships, your work, even like creative stuff.
Exactly. Think about a time when you felt stuck, just like going through the motions, not really getting anywhere.
Ugh, yeah, like in a job or a project. That's the worst.
Yeah. Didn't it feel as you were just repeating the same things over and over? No real growth?
Totally. Stuck in that labyrinth loop, but not learning a thing.
Right. But then something changes. You get a new idea, learn something new, or just try a different way of doing things. And suddenly, you're in a new loop, a new cycle of actually growing.
And that's where that whole increasing frequency thing comes back in, right? It's like every time you go through a cycle and you're aware of it, you're like leveling up your own frequency. Becoming more tuned in to those little changes and patterns.
Exactly. You're getting it. And as you become more aware, you're better at dealing with those ups and downs. They're going to happen. It's like challenges become chances to grow, part of the natural cycle.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but like less intense.
Yeah.
More about just rolling with the changes and coming out ahead.
I like that. And I think that's what makes this piece so interesting. It's not just some theory. It's actually giving you a way to understand your own life, a way to make sense of things that feel random.
And it does it in this fun, kind of like secretive way. It's like the author's letting you in on something. Hey, I figured out this cool thing about life. You're going to love this.
Yeah, it feels personal. Like we're all discovering this together.
Yeah, and laughing along the way. I mean, some of those parts, especially the Cosmos FM bits, they're just funny. It's like the author's saying, okay, this is deep stuff, but don't get too serious.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that even when you're thinking about big life stuff, it's okay to have fun with it. Embrace the weirdness and the mystery.
That's what I like about it. The mix of deep thoughts and lighthearted moments makes those big ideas easier to grasp.
Right. Like it's saying, hey, life's a crazy ride full of twists and turns. Might as well enjoy it and maybe learn a few things along the way.
Which brings us back to that idea of the text as a journey. Did it feel like a journey to you? reading it.
Yeah, definitely. Not always straightforward, but that's what kept me hooked, you know. I found myself going back to certain parts, thinking about different meanings, and making connections as I went.
Same here.
Yeah.
That's what I love about a good deep dive. It's not just about remembering information. It's about really getting into it, letting the ideas spark something new in your thinking. It's a journey for your mind and for you.
For sure. And like any good trip, it's not just about the destination, it's about what you experience along the way, what you learn and who you connect with.
It really makes you think differently about, how we learn stuff, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. We're always trying to get to the finish line,
Right.
right? Like find all the answers, but maybe the real learning happens in the in-between parts, exploring the questions.
And, being okay with not knowing everything. Just like the author who never finished that Marquez book.
Hmm.
Maybe it's fine to just sit with the mystery.
Totally. It's actually kind of freeing when you think about it. You can be curious about things without needing to have it all figured out.
So instead of being, laser focused on the end goal,
Hmm.
maybe it's more about enjoying the journey. The ups and downs, the learning, the quiet times.
And remembering that even when things feel like a mess, we're still part of this bigger cycle, like those Cosmos FM parts. There's always something bigger happening, even if we don't get it.
Like listening to a radio station that's kind of staticky sometimes.
Mm.
But, there's a signal in there somewhere. Just got to find it.
Love that analogy. And maybe that's part of the fun, trying to tune in to the right frequency, see how it all connects.
So if you're listening to this and you're feeling kind of lost, just remember those cycles. It's okay to not be okay all the time. What matters is staying open to the journey, right? There's always something new waiting to be discovered.
Perfectly said. We've come full circle back to life being this series of cycles, like a cosmic dance.
And like any good dance, it's about finding the rhythm,
Mm.
trusting your partner, and enjoying the music. So as we wrap up this deep dive, think about this. What frequency are you tuned into today? What really stuck with you? What new ideas are you taking away from all this?